All right, welcome everyone to episode 8 of Wargamers. Today I'm here with David Sharrock, of the producer for Battlestar Galactica. How are you, David?
Thank you, John. How are you?
Not bad, not bad, not bad. So before we jump into Battlestar, I figured I'll leave that as the dessert for the end. Because that's the main piece that I wanted to jump on. Let's just dive in from the beginning. I'm kind of curious, where did it all start for you? Like, when did you start working on strategy games?
So I started kind of messing around with strategy games when I was at university. I was like modding, doing like my own mini mods of StarCraft 1, the original StarCraft,
Oh, nice.
that sort of thing. But that was like doing computer science at university, so technically a programmer, but not a very good one. So I didn't carry on much from there. Then I sort of ended up stumbling into the industry as a game designer on a very low wage, making games for Nokias. So like not Nokias with like Windows interface, but Nokias with the like J2ME 128 by 96 pixel graphic games. They were a challenge. So everything had to be strategic then because you couldn't see a damn thing. But then from there, I've gone
Blocks, basically.
Yeah. So I spent quite a few years at Sony working first party at London studio, and that's much more social games, so football and singing games, that sort of thing. And then I've ended up kind of at Slytherin, joined a couple of years ago, mostly because I was in a place where I could actually choose like where do I want to go next. So I decided to actually go, well, I haven't really worked on the kind of games that I play the most, so let's go and try that for a bit. So I'm now actually working on kind of my genre. My first PC game ever was Dune 2. So that sort of.
Oh wow! Okay, nice. Okay, so this is kind of like you're at where you want to be.
Well, it's kind of interesting because it's still the job. It's not like you're just there doing things, but it means that I'm now working on games where I very much have an opinion now. I've played a lot of these games, I have a lot of experience, and I very much have an opinion. Whereas some games, maybe as a producer, you kind of it's more of a project management role because you're not going to play at the end of the day. Whereas a lot of the games for Slither and Matrix are very much my games I will play at the end of the day.
So talking about the games that you play, what gaming projects have you been involved with besides Battlestar Galactica?
So I've been working with the Shenandoah guys, bringing across like Battle of the Bulge, Driving Moscow and Gettysburg that just came out recently, and then working with Flashback games on Panzer Corps and the Aristocrats over an Order of Battle. So it's kind of interesting coverage, but then also games like Polaris Sector, which is a really interesting 4X space game.
Okay.
So it's kind of lots of variety. So,
yeah,
and generally within the Slytherin Matrix bubble, I'm very much over on the Slytherin side. So there's more accessible games rather than I'm unlikely to be playing things like making games like Close Combat and Field of Glory, which are very much on the sort of very hardcore strategy side. I'm more about games that are a little bit more accessible.
Okay, nice. And I've just talked to Marco in a previous episode, but he was mentioning how like Slytherin is for a more larger audience, and Matrix more for the hardcore kind of like grown-hard kind of guys.
Yeah, so within the team, we've got 4 producers, all handling lots of different developers, and yeah, some guys are very grognardy. They are guys who really know their stuff. They have their own Prussian armies at home, sort of thing. Whereas because of my history has very much been in social games and much more things that people expect to be able to pick up and play without having to read a manual. Even though manuals are nice, and we do like getting a good manual, but still, we like to. I'm very much on the case of you don't need to know what your armor penetration of an M4A3 howitzer is.
Yeah. Although majority of the people on, majority of the people.
No, I love watching your channels and playing a lot of the games that we've got. They're really educational for me because I don't have a history with them. So it's been really interesting. It's like I've recently started playing Combat Mission. And it's like that's a pretty hardcore game, and I'm not very good at it. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I always lose in that game, but I have a hell of a time.
Yeah.
So out of all the projects that you worked on, which is your favorite gaming project that you ever worked on, and why is your favorite?
Oh, that's a very cruel question. I'd say really it's probably one that no one's ever heard of. It's back on PlayStation Portable. There's a game called World Tour Soccer, which is the first football game to come out on the PlayStation Portable. Sold quite well because it was first before EA and FIFA destroyed the market. But it was fun because it was kind of me and a couple of other guys. It was a fairly small team. We were quite tight knit, and it was kind of our baby to do what we wanted to with.
Oh, okay.
Like, so we had a lot of ownership and a lot of like, well, no one's really done a football game on PlayStation Portable before. Go on, do something. And that was really exciting, really interesting. And at the time, I've still got a lot of time for that game, even though barely anyone played it.
How about like these teams when you guys are designing these kind of games? I mean, I'm picturing like 30, 40 guys, but I mean,
it entirely depends. Yeah. So when I was making that game, the first one will have been a team of about 30 or something because all the technology and test beds of no one's ever made a game on PlayStation of new technology before.
Yeah.
But then by the time you come to do World Soccer 2, we had a team of 8 maybe. So there's a couple of guys supporting new features, and then a couple of designers, a couple of artists, that sort of thing. But then when you get to the development teams that we work with nowadays, so you have a lot of games are the big Uber 200, 300 man, Ubisoft, EA sort of things. There's a lot of our developers, because it's slightly more niche and slightly more, I don't know, game development is so much more accessible nowadays with all the tools out there.
Yeah.
A lot of the teams are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 men, and that's all. And they're producing this sort of quality of games.
I noticed that at I was talking to a couple people at Apple and Google, and I've noticed like when I was at Apple, they a couple of guys I know that work at Coupa were telling me like they actually have small teams rather than very large teams that work together. And I know in Google and Microsoft they have very large teams, and I was always kind of like perplexed by that. And I found out that when you have a small team, they work better together, and they're this is what he was telling me, like they work better together and they're more efficient. They can bounce off each other. When you have large teams, it's the creative element is not as much prevalent as
so certainly on that sort of on those sort of scales with those bigger companies, there's a lot more kind of proof you need to give because there's a lot of money floating around and people are expecting a lot of results.
Yeah.
So people expect you to iterate quickly and then basically get to it. A few weeks of work, proof of concept, fail fast, that sort of thing. And the important thing, if the team's small, your money burn is quite low. So you can throwing away 3 weeks of work from 3 guys isn't expensive compared to 6 months of work from 20 guys. It's hard to throw that away as a business because you spent a lot of money on it. Whereas if you've got a small team that can iterate quickly and go, yeah, it actually isn't any fun, throw it away, you haven't lost that much. It's actually somewhat harder for a lot of our smaller indie guys because they are small teams and they can be quick, they can iterate quick, but they don't have by themselves the resources available to really prove stuff out. It's kind of what our job and responsibility and what we bring to the table as a publisher is that ability to have a bit of stability, know that they can have 6 months time of, okay, someone's standing behind me and working with me, I can develop this game out, so that means go, oh, do I have to go and get another job? Oh, do I have to do this in my weekends? And also, oh, but I haven't really got an artist. We know artists. We can get someone involved who can like show, okay, you've got a proof of concept. But no one's going to buy that. But maybe with a bit more art, and then you can really prove something out and make it considerably more appealing to everybody.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. Wow. So in terms of the other projects that you're working on, one question I wanted to ask: can we? Are you guys still planning on like? Because you mentioned that you're doing Order of Battle before.
Yep.
You worked on Panzer Corps, and you just mentioned a lot of the Shenandoah games.
Yes.
Like Gettysburg was a big hit for me. I'm like, I really enjoyed it. It was it was kind of like you bring a board game to the digital side.
No, it really is. It is right on the case of the design. Literally, when I'm sat there playing there, I have the full printout of the board game rules with me. There, Eric Lee Smith wrote. So we've had to veer away a little bit because video games and board games never quite match. But it is really, it's been wonderful for once to actually have someone wrote a full design doc down because no one writes design docs nowadays.
Yeah, the one thing that one of my friends is a big board gamer, and that was one of his things. That's why he likes Shenandoah Studios and those designs a lot, was because he was saying that it's like playing a board game on the computer because every time he gets on the computer, it's a completely different animal.
Yes.
So, he loves it because he'll start up the game and he feels like he's actually like, instead of playing the computer, he feels like it's like a podium straight on his laptop display. So
so you got games like the Heroes of Normandy came out last year as well, and they've taken it to the next level of board gaming. All the chits and that are really nice physical things that you move around the table, the nice little clunk when you put them down. That's a really nice appealing feature of that, because it is really board game feel.
I love the fact that with Here's Normandy, I have it on my iPhone, and I bring my phone with me everywhere. I was at the bar yesterday, and one of my friends, she was running a little late, so just popping it out and literally just starting up a game just like that and having a nice cool.
They're also quite nice as board games because you can stop them and just like put the board away and come back. You don't have to worry about so what was that piece again?
Yeah, we always had trouble. We always one of my friends is a big World in Flames fanatic. I mean, that's
his.
It's
kind of thing. I know of it. I've looked at the boxes of it. Oh my, yes.
He's really obsessed with this game. He loves it to death. I mean, when we set it up, he has a cat. So like we'll set it up and then we'll come back to it and we'll be like, wait, why are my carriers, by Alaska? I'm like, I didn't leave it there, And
more soldiers have died to cats and toddlers than to anything else in the world.
Yeah. So based on like these games, Panzer Corps and Order of Battle, and especially the Gettysburg Engine, do you guys are planning on future installments of these games with you?
Yeah. So Panzer Corps 2 is out there as a known thing. So the guys at Flashback are working away on that, basically trying to see how do you turn something that has that lineage going back to like Panzer General to the very classic thing of it's essentially is very much a board game with tiles and hexes, through to Panzer Corps, which took that to kind of like a much more interactable element and much more modern for its time. But now, how do you bring that forward now to what's modern now, which is very different to what it was when it released? And then Order of Battle, the Aristocrats, they're still putting out new content. They did a very sensible thing of Lucas, who's the main guy of the Aristocrats. He's like he's sat there as the queen bee of this product, but he has lots of people he works with to get the content out there. So like Burma Road is the new one coming out in a few weeks' time. The actual scenarios are designed by another guy. He basically comes in, does the scenarios, does the balancing. Lucas supports him by adding on the new units and the new functionality. But then if someone else is then doing like the Blitzkrieg expansions, and they're following that through the German path. So there's a separate designer owning that little bit of history, while Lucas sits in the middle owning the product. So it's always moving forward, but with those like different ideas coming in from other people.
Wow. Okay. And in terms of like, are you guys in Gettysburg? Are you guys? Is there more? Are you guys planning more installments for the Gettysburg series, or using that engine for?
Well, let's see. Because at the moment the guys have been focusing on bringing Battle of the Bulge across to consoles.
Okay.
So looking at that's hopefully a thing soon, and then from there, they're an interesting studio with more to think about, but not to tell about yet.
Okay. I did enjoy the game, and I look forward to seeing how Battle of the Bulge is going to work on the console, because is that a difficult transition to go from, originally started as a tablet, then you guys brought it to PC, and now you go into the console. So, you guys probably had to like really be creative,
it's not difficult as long as you take your time and think about it.
You guys have to be very. You guys have to be very creative. Here, because it's just like you're literally taking something that was designed for touch, moving into the mouse and keyboard, and bringing it to a gamepad. So from the PC version, it looks great. So I have confidence in you guys 100%. But you guys have some very talented people working for you to think outside the box like that. It's not.
It's a curious thing. Lots of the guys who I with are very experienced, and also like some of the, especially core teams like Marco and people, they've been on this for ages. They know what a good PC strategy game should look and feel like. And then curiously, because of my background in console stuff, I kind of know what a gamepad should feel like.
Mhm.
So if you're playing a strategy game with a gamepad, it should feel like this, and it's kind of a feel thing. If you ever know that in a particular situation, the language of a gamepad is kind of set because people have followed conventions. Generally, people expect triggers to be zoom and the beavers to go back, and that's something. There's conventions around it. So as long as you stick to mostly, basically keep the universe conventions as your core pillars, and then vary from that with what your game needs, you're usually fine. But yeah, you get into trouble when people start putting in their own esoteric thing of, no, I think it's best if we have X be the main confirmation buttons. No, that's not going to work.
Yeah, because everybody's hardwired. I mean, I had a console before, and like as soon as I pick it up, it's like my brain automatically is set to think of this button for that, this button for that. So,
as long as you follow most of those conventions, you're 90% fine. Then you just have to deal with the exceptions.
Yeah, now I'm trying to like figure out like I sold my PS4 before because I decided to go and get just an Apple TV, but I'm planning to get a console again, and I'm trying to like figure out like should I invest in a console or should I get me an external GPU because I'm trying to figure out where I want to play Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
And, I'm assuming it's going to be beautiful on both.
It is.
But yes. I'm just trying to figure out if I want to play on a gamepad or if I want to use the keyboard and stuff.
The PC version will have gamepad support, so if you want to play on a PC with a gamepad, you can do.
Oh, okay, nice. All right, so that answers my question for me right there.
It's been one of the very sensible moves of the guys at Black Lab because they did Starhammer 2 years ago and the console port of Starhammer last year. That taught them a lot about like how space strategy games feel on a gamepad when you bring them from PC. So actually, when developing Battlestar, they started from the position of, importantly the UI. Basically, you have to design a UI that can be game-padable, rather than just a lot of UIs from PCs. This gets to be struggle to be ported to console because people have made expectations of the wonderful thing of a mouse. A mouse is a wonderful device, the extension of an arm, and a human arm can do so many things. But a gamepad needs restricting back a little bit to make the flow easier.
Mm-hmm.
And because they've known that when they've been designing Battlestar, they've been able to design it straight from the start with both systems working at the same time. So if you want to, you can play keyboard and mouse, or you can just go to options, change over to gamepad, and it just works with gamepad.
Oh, okay, wow.
Without the UI changing. So the only thing that really changes the UI is you get a couple of different pop-up boxes on console because you can't. It's harder to imply meaning from a console gamepad.
Yeah, wow. And it's coming out for Xbox too, I believe, right? Xbox One?
Yes. Yeah, so it'll be out on PC first, and then Xbox One and PS4 a bit later.
Are you guys thinking about, Xbox 360 or PS3 is a possibility? Are you guys looking for that market too, or just the latest consoles?
I think just with what they've done with the graphical stuff, I think it'd be too much for that size of team to try and make it work well on the previous generation of hardware.
Okay. Yeah.
I think when you've got a very small team, it's best to go focus on this, focus on what's out there and what's the biggest thing right now. And PS4 and Xbox One are very much the targets.
And there's a lot of graphics in Battlestar Galactica, so I mean,
it's very shiny. Very shiny.
Yeah, I was really like surprised by the level. I was talking to Historical Gamer on the other podcast I do with him called Single Malt Strategy, and I was just telling him how I can literally rip the game out, like rip the footage that just happened in the game, post it, on YouTube or whatever, and it'll look like a cinematic movie. I can literally make a Battlestar Galactica movie based on that footage because it looks so beautiful. I mean, I'm zooming into the Battlestar, or the light Battlestar, I believe, I forgot the name of it, but zooming in, and I can see the guns just shooting off, and I'm watching the movie, like the actual TV. And I'm like, holy shit, this is like, this is like, I mean, this is crazy accurate. This is crazy beautiful,
Well, it's been a really interesting project to watch evolve through, because obviously at the start of when you're starting it, everything's a little bit ugly. Nothing animates. It's just a big stiff box of stuff. There's no lighting. But you can see right from the start, you could feel that the gameplay worked. And
Mhm.
then as it's gone on, the months have gone on, so we got a few outsourced guys, and then they brought in some artists, and their art director absolutely loves the Battlestar aesthetic completely. So the direction they managed to give is just the way it's come forward. And maybe like 3 months or so ago, they kind of flipped over. And I bet it was like, oh, this is good looking too. Oh, this is good. This is really good looking.
Yeah, I mean, so you guys had, so you guys knew it was going to be good
Yeah,
graphics,
yeah.
but you didn't expect it to be
Like you
the
say,
level
you
now.
never can. It's always the thing with game development. There's always a bit of faith. You have to.
Yeah.
You kind of go. Well, someone can like draw a 2D mock-up of something and say it's going to look kind of like this, but that's never what it's always going to end up looking like. It's always a bit of faith on trusting the guys to go. No, we know what we're talking about. It's going like this. And then when it does finally come out, it's always like, oh yeah, I see what you mean now.
When did I'm curious? When did you guys start developing for Battlestar Galactica? When did like day one start?
Oh, so I think the lead developer actually has may well have this tattooed on his forehead now. I think it's some like March 17th last year. They actually fully started development.
Oh wow,
So
okay. So,
so it's about 18-month development time when it comes out.
wow, okay. So that's pretty
That's quick.
quick for a game.
That's It's quick because, as is the most sensible thing with the developers nowadays, is if you've got an engine which you've got stable, which their previous engine for Starhammer was very stable, as it didn't crash, it just held up. The game was working. Once you've got something like that as your core, then you can build on it. And if you can,
Okay.
building on it then becomes much quicker.
Okay, so that's I mean, because I mean, 18 months is like, I mean,
Oh, it's
that's
nothing. Yeah, it's
yeah,
absolutely nothing. It has been a reasonably pressured situation for them. They love the IP. They know what they're getting themselves into.
working on
So
the they probably you know, working weekends and nights and stuff,
yeah,
trying to get it
that
done.
I think it's one of those things of I don't know if you know about the thing called the Home of Wargamers, which is kind of like Slytherin Matrix. We do every year, every spring.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
we get all our developers over to Italy somewhere or wherever and get them all together and basically have a little conference and a chance to share knowledge about wargaming and where the future of computer wargaming is. And 2 years ago, I think someone asked Paul, the lead developer, it's like, so if you could do any science fiction IP, what would you want to do? And I think straight away he said Battlestar Galactica, and thought nothing of it. Then I think 4 months later, Marco rang him out of the blue and sort of said, "So Paul, we've got the Battlestar Galactica license. Do you want it?" I think he pretty much died back there. So
Hitting the roof. The jumping up so hard that a freaking head hit the roof.
pretty much, I think the world spun slightly differently. Yeah. So that's the thing. That's how these things can happen. Is that Marco knows a lot of people. You've talked to him,
Yeah.
and he's unafraid to reach out and ask people and work out ways. That basically, if you're a little indie developer working away trying to make the best game you can, you don't necessarily have that time to get your eyes up and make those contacts with the wider like IP community.
Mm-hmm.
With someone like Michael, it's his full-time job. So actually being able to knit together a really cool and valuable IP and all the story and all the love for that with a developer who genuinely loves that game and loves the IP is a wonderful thing to do.
And that's why I love, you know, Slytherin and Matrix, primarily because, you know, there's a lot of publishers out there, and you know, I've talked to a few of them, but none of them go after the IPs. You know, none of them. I don't know from what they can't see as a creative side, or they, you know, or they just can't see a game being developed, or maybe there are more challenges. I don't know, but a lot. I mean, there's so many great IPs out there. And Battlestar Galactica was screaming for a strategy. And, you know, the fans were always, you know, like, and you know, even when, you know, when I was working on my last company, we were all just bullshitting and be like, you know, what's a, you know, great IP where we, you know, that screams for a strategy game, and everybody was just like Battlestar Galactica. I mean, are you kidding me? And you know, some of them were saying, you know, half of them were like, yeah, first Cylon War, I would love to fight it because that feels like more of like a war. Some of them, you know, were like, hey, I'd rather run the Galactica, things like that. So it was kind of like even trade. But the thing was like, you know, we went from Battlestar Galactica and Star Trek and Star Wars. And when you look at all these IPs, I mean, they have strategy games. But like Star Trek, the last real strategy game for Star Trek was in, you know, the late 90s with like Armada. I'm sorry, I think that was like probably 2000, whatever it was. But I mean, that's 2 decades ago almost, you know, and Star Wars last real good strategy game they had was Empires at War, which was the mid 2000s, if I'm not mistaken. And it's just, you know, it's been so long. You're kind of wondering, why are these IPs getting these great strategy games? And I really loved when Marco, you know, told me, it's like, hey, you know, we went and we got this IP, and then you guys made a press release and released, you know, and it just like blew the whole community. I remember I was looking at the press release, I was like, no way, are you kidding me? And like it was incredible, because this is something the whole Battlestar fan community wanted, and I'm sure gamers have been screaming for this too for, you know, forever. I mean, there's the last Battlestar Galactica game was online, I think the online game, if I'm not mistaken. And you know, I played it a few times, but what you guys made is what we want, and it's incredible. It really is. How challenging was it to make this game for both PC, Mac, PS4, Xbox? I mean, these are 4 different platforms. You know, they're completely different operating systems from each other. So I'm just kind of curious, how difficult was it to do that, and how much more development time did that add on?
That's the kind of thing is that because the game is based on Unity, it kind of takes away a lot of the main risk of, do you have an engine that can work with the processors inside all those systems? Which that's kind of one of the main reasons for using those kind of something like Unity or Unreal as development platforms. Because you might not have the flexibility of rolling your own, but you do have a system that basically means that if you want to go to PS4 or to Xbox, you're gonna have to make some changes, but you're not gonna have to rewrite your core engine.
Okay. Is it you know, since you don't have to rewrite the core engine, but are you just changing out the UI and Unity kind of handles the rest?
So not quite so simple. So basically, the core bit of the game will stay there. You have to make some allowances. So things like, I think Microsoft doesn't support just-in-time rendering, so you have to change a few options there. So you have to pre-render frames, and things like each of the consoles has different requirements. So Microsoft on the Xbox side of things has all their Xbox integration, like how they do cloud saving, how they do achievements is their thing. And same with Sony has their way of doing trophies and their way of doing share and supporting share functionality, that sort of thing. They're all very much their thing. So you have to write with those things in mind. But other than that, a lot of the time nowadays, most games will just run on things. They might not be playable, so you might need to do quite a bit of optimization to make things work optimally, and you'll have to rewrite your control scheme. But yeah, a lot of times games will just work.
Oh wow, okay. So I wasn't aware that was. I know Unity helps a lot of developers out, but I just didn't realize it's just.
The key bit is the central thing of, is it even possible for your core engine to work on these systems? And that's kind of what a lot of these development platforms tick your box for. So you know that if your core bit is Unity or Unreal, basically the bit you've wrapped around it, that might not work. So your code might be rubbish, but the central code that will make it actually work on the system at all probably will work. If it doesn't work, that's their problem, and you can write to them and get them to fix it. Whereas the old school way of, if you rolled your own engine, then it might be a bit more of a challenge.
Yeah, I'll be sure to use Unity next time, because I wouldn't want to go from to, because you would have to rewrite the core engine for each platform. And Unity, from what this sounds like, is making.
I say it just makes it that little bit. It's not perfect because you're restricted to what the engine does, so you can't. The benefit of rolling your own is that you can be very bespoke. So a lot of these games that you'll see that are really just exceptionally super shiny will probably be in their own engine, because they've managed to do workarounds and shortcuts to basically lop off a lot of things. It means that they're very narrow, but they're very focused, but that requires a very commitment to that level of focus. Whereas most games and most developers, especially smaller teams, they're happy to stay a bit more generic and focus on just the gameplay nuggets that make their game special.
So since Unity's this easy to this
easy's in quotes here. Easy's very much in quotes.
So based on this, are you guys planning on a simultaneous PC, Mac, PS4, and Xbox release, or are you guys planning to release it simultaneously across all these platforms?
So PC will come out first, and then consoles will come out a few months later.
Okay.
It's just generally kind of a de-risking strategy, really. As PC is a much faster turnaround on stuff. So when you start getting towards Gold Master, basically like the guys I know, they're very much a case of finding bugs, fixing bugs, polishing up last bits of gameplay. And with PC, it's just quicker to iterate that around and push a new build out, iterate it, push a new build out to beta testers. Whereas consoles come with a very sensible certification process, because basically consoles are meant to be secure boxes that don't crash, that stay within their own environments, that don't break the system. So we have certification of Microsoft and Format QA on Sony's side of things, and they do a very good job of keeping their system secure. But that is a timeline and a risk. So it's actually easier to iterate on PC, and then once you've got a stable thing, then go console, because you've got a stable thing to go to them with, rather than something that's still in a bit of flux.
Okay, and iOS is kind of in the same way. So, is there a possibility that we might see BSG Deadlock coming to iOS down the road?
I'd be surprised unless iOS has a big uptick in processor capacity. That's the main thing. Starhammer fit on iPads just. Good iPads, wow. It just about fit. BSG, I don't think will fit on any current iPad. I just don't think I won't handle the graphics rendering.
Do you think would it be possible on like the new iPad, the one that they just released, the Pro 10.5 inch?
Possibly, but I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't know what its capabilities are. But I'd be surprised, just for the sheer size of the thing.
Yeah, I wonder even if like it would be even worth it, you know, even if it is available to do it, because it's a 10.5 inch iPad. It just came out. The market saturation based on that, you're not gonna have, you know, it's not gonna be in the hands of tens of millions of people. Like me, I'm rocking an iPad Air 2 for the last 3 years. And, you know, I mean, it's great. I use it a lot, but you know.
Well, it's the kind of thing. For the PC guys, we can scale back the graphics a bit, because on my laptop here, I've just about got a gig of RAM in my laptop, and that's on a laptop graphics card, and it can run Battlestar okay on pretty low settings. Same way that I can run like the latest Civ on pretty low settings. I can play the thing, and this is a good few years ago and scraping along. Whereas some of the guys running on the proper high-end rigs, like the big GTX 1080s and whatever else, they can run it on full bells, whistles, full on beautiful mode.
Yeah.
That's the thing. The thing is, if you're picking up a game on another platform or something like the console, it'll run pretty beautiful, because there's only one setting since console, because you know what it is. Whereas on an iPad, again, you've got lots of different ones. And then if you bought it for a lower down one, would you be really happy if it was the lower, really bad looking one? I'm not sure you would, because you wouldn't have any option to make it better without buying a new iPad.
Yeah, I mean,
it all feels a bit nasty.
Yeah, I'm kind of addicted to the way it looks now, because it's.
Yeah, honestly, that's amazing. So it's hard to give up. It really is. And actually, what's most surprising to me is even on this ever so slightly beat up battery only stays charged for 5 minutes laptop, it still looks good. I ramped the model detail down, the YT detail down to make it run at good speed, but it still looks good.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised. I'm running a 2016 MacBook Pro, and it doesn't have a dedicated GPU. It's just the Iris Pro, I believe, the 620. And I mean, it's an internal graphics chip, and was able to run the game, and it was very beautiful, you know. So I can imagine with these guys with higher end rigs, and when I get my external GPU, I'm gonna max that out. This 1080 is just for Battlestar Galactica. I mean, this is the whole purpose of me investing. just for Battlestar Galactica because I want to max the detail.
Sounds like a very solid purchase to me.
Yes, very much so. So another question I had was, what kind of support did you receive from Universal Television, or is it because Universal Television own the rights to Battlestar?
Yeah, so there's NBC Universal, which are also DreamWorks nowadays because of the wonderful thing of mergers over there. But then it's UCP, I think it's Universal Content Productions, are the guys who own it.
Okay.
And so we deal day to day with the guys with. I've basically got a producer who works with me at NBCU. She's my counterpart, and to be honest, it's been genuinely an absolute delight. I've worked with many different licensors and licensees in different areas, and this has been an absolute delight. They've been really, really good. So the guys who've written the guy, there's an original story for this game, and the guys over at UCP have been really good, giving feedback, pointers, how to tweak it, how to match the characters up with what the characters should be. There's been no big red lines or anything like that. It's all been really positive stuff.
Okay, great. It's always good, get support like that.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing if they've been able to give us sound effects as well. So a lot of the fire you'll hear from the Vipers and the guns are from the original sound effects that we've been able to work with, and that sort of thing. So that's kind of why it sounds so authentic.
Yeah, I have to admit, I mean, what blew me away. So when I launched the game, when I was doing first impressions, I literally launched it. And the first thing that really, I mean, just won me over. I mean, even if everything broke on this game, that moment that I heard that music in the background, it set the atmosphere. I mean, within the first few seconds. And where did the music come from? Did you guys design it from the ground up?
Yeah, it's all original compositions. It's done by a guy called Ash Gibson Grieg out in Australia.
Wow.
So yeah, he's a really good composer, and he's basically like the rest of the team out there. They know and love the BSG aesthetic, and so they were able to get it across and bring it in and just carry that feeling across to the game.
Yeah, these guys need to get a Grammy for what they did. I mean, it was just absolutely insane. I was blown away. I was just like, holy. I was just thinking in my head for like 5 minutes. I'm like, is this from the show? And I'm like, I don't remember it, but it has to be because it literally feels like it was incredible.
The guy basically is even just to carry that theme across is like he has a friend who basically knows a bit of Sanskrit, and so basically he got him to translate kind of a little hook into Sanskrit and then got that sung over the top of it, just to carry that same sort of feel across. And actually, one of my favorite features of the games that they do is they've got a system with because it's a WeGo game, so you got that period of planning and then period of action. And the system they've got is when you're planning, there's an audio track playing in the background. It's kind of nice, relatively calm but good enough. There is some missions full of menace, others a bit more hopeful. But then once you click the end turn button and the bullets start flying, they mix it up into it. There's basically two tracks, one over top of the other, that mix into each other and they just crossfade across.
Oh shit! Yeah, I realized that.
It goes, oh my god, stuff's happening, bullets flying, and then the turn ends and they crossfade it back to the simulation again.
Understood.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, you're totally right. I mean, it does.
It's really subtle, but it's like the kind of thing. It's the way the kind of music. It's why people love the Battlestar music. It's very evocative, and it's just that it just lifts you up when because they just change the key a bit and just add a few new instruments into the mix of the same song, And it's like, oh, stuff's happening. The drums kick in and everything else.
You got that anticipate. Well, you got that feeling like
stuff
is
danger
getting crazy a little bit.
Yeah.
So one other question I had was, this is the first Cylon War, right?
Yes.
How difficult was it to design and build the ships from, I mean, when the show came out, you had Galactica and you had the Pegasus and obviously some base ships and fighters, which you really couldn't use because Pegasus, base ship, all this stuff. So you really only had the Galactica and the Mark II Viper. So how do you go from that? And you had to build out the whole fleet for the first Cylon War. I'm just curious how difficult that was.
So we had a few favors because in things like Razor flashbacks, you can see the old double discus base star, which we've got into the game, so like the 1970s one. So, which is kind of helpful because they kind of gave us an in. Because the way that NBC and UCP did it was to take, when you're showing the first Cylon War in Razor and in Blood and Chrome, a lot of the Cylon stuff, basically, they just flash back to the old stuff from the 1970s. And just that little hints like the old Raiders or the old overturned dish Raiders, and you got double deck base stars. So like in Blood and Chrome, the Osiris crashed into the double dish base star and blows it up. So that's nice to give us that kind of hints that, okay, they see a way to find the aesthetic of these ships from this 50-year past period is to pay homage back to the 1978 show, and our designers were totally down with that. So that's where they kind of started. So I know the art director is very much about kind of functional architecture, so he wants to build things that work, and that works with BSG because everything about BSG is functional. It's not about pretty. It's not like Vorlon spacecraft with big flowing, beautiful, streamy lines. Everything's slightly nuts and bolts. Someone has very much gone on, right, we need to put a gun there, and someone, you can see them just got big rivets, has riveted a gun into it. So it's been very much that sort of aesthetic, and they've basically gone with the theory of, because where our games is set, it's the signing of the Articles of Colonization, so it's the first time that the 12 colonies coming together. So each of the ships kind of has a feeling of a different colony. So it's like Pycon might have had its own defense force and its own speciality ships that it's built, and it wouldn't have shared with Sagittarium. And Sagittarians might have some differently, and Leonis would have something different. So actually be able to go, okay, so maybe what have these guys specialised in that we could maybe use as their specialist craft? It's like the specialist full-on carrier that's not a Battlestar in the game looks very different to the others because it's from a different planet that's kind of built it as a different kind of public finance contract type thing. So they've gone for that very much look of how would someone have built up a ship, and then the idea is that the colonial fleet are bringing in these old kind of not top of the line but very effective models, the best from each colony, to fight in the joint fleet together.
Oh, wow.
And whereas like the Jupiter Battlestars like Galactica are the very top of the line, these are the brand new designed just for this purpose. Whereas a lot of the other ones are very much about political capital. It's like as you get as the fleet does better, as people are more impressed with you, get a bit more political capital, and you can bring in that design into your fleet as well.
Oh wow, okay.
It's even back to the thing of a lot of people have noticed that on the Jupiter class or the Galactica's type class in our game, it has 3 struts attached to the flight pod, which is the same as the 1978 models. They have 3 struts, whereas the 2003 models only have 2 struts.
Yes, yeah.
So that's kind of been our thing, is that basically, right, so when people are designing at the start, that callback to the 1978 series, maybe they built it more stability because they were like, how do we build something this big? So we built it with that extra bit of extra engineering of the 3rd strut to anchor on the flight pods. The theory being then, as the war has gone on, they've evolved that and gone, no, we don't need this extraneous, we just need the 2, and we can fit more stuff in by getting rid of these extra struts.
Oh wow, okay.
So the idea is that the whole point of the first Cylon War is just military escalation after military escalation after military escalation, all ramping up together until suddenly it all stops. But that's the kind of the thing, is that people are just throwing money and budget and ideas at military, and where we've got to show like the back from that. So like when you see Raptor Talon in Razor, you've got Columbia there getting blown up, and that's the new like what Galactica looks like. Obviously, in the Adventure series, it's a relic, but then it's cutting edge. And then we've gone right. So what if that was cutting edge? What would our relic look like?
Wow. Okay. Wow. How many ships are in the that you guys like? I noticed there's a missile ship, right? If I'm yeah, there's a missile ship.
There's
Carrier,
7
right?
colonial like main ships of the line type things. Then there's 4 like squadrons like Vipers, Viper Mark IIs, Raptors, and those type of squadron. And the Cylons have 6 and 4.
Okay. Wow.
Time. So you get things like the Raiders, and then like a Raider evolution, and the heavy Raiders turn up as well. So you can end up with Cylons, Centurions, forwarding your vessels and blowing you up from the inside as well. It's a bit of a nasty trick, but something to defend against. It's very funny in multiplayer.
Yeah, I haven't played a multiplayer yet, but I mean, what I really love about it is because instead of filling out I play the skirmish mode a lot, so instead of filling out the thing with Battlestar, Light Battlestar, I actually really love the designs, and not only that, the utility of using a missile destroyer as well as a carrier. I found Vipers being extremely useful. I thought they were going to get in the way. I was like, I don't know. I really love Vipers in a show, but I would love to just make a flak screen and just fire at missiles. But those Vipers, they're extremely useful. I'm sending them out to different parts of the map, engaging Cylon ships, and they're like fracking them up. Like they're just doing some damage to them, and it's really good. I mean, I was kind of shocked about.
Most of the game, because you've got to be able to play and use a Jupiter class, which is like a kilometer and a half long ship, however big it is, with 1,500 people on board. It's a big ship. And the Viper is the size of a grain of sand next to it. So basically, to be able to have a game where you can control those and also these, like most of the turn-by-turn tactical bases on the big ships, and the smaller ships are very much, you kind of give them orders and point-to-point ideas. So basically, you go and shoot over them over there, whilst you're actually doing intricate individual maneuvers with your big ships. But because that's sort of 2 different gameplays, actually they kind of knit nicely together. So a lot of my favorite stuff is basically launching my Vipers and then sending off to defend someone other than my base star, my Battlestar. Because one thing, Battlestars are slow. They're big, lumbering whales. They can take a punishment, but they're not quick. So it's kind of I can basically get the Vipers out there, get the Vipers over, escorting my missile pickets, because I know they're going to get shot at first. So the Vipers are defending them, intercepting Raiders, intercepting missiles coming in. And then once the Jupiters are then caught up to the battle, then I can bring them back and defend the mothership. It's quite nice being able to send them out there and cover off things.
I got to use that strategy. My last one was I'll send the Vipers all the way out to the Cylon fleet, and then I was basically having Battlestars protect the smaller ships, but that's actually a much better strategy.
All right, so you have to accept somewhat that you're going to take losses. This is a full-on, lots of big guns pointing at each other. Things get blown up. It's very rare you come out unscathed in these battles. So sometimes you do have to make the choice of, well, he's going to get absolutely fracked up, but if he's getting fracked up, the rest of the guys aren't. So it's a bit cruel, but sometimes you got to do it.
As long as my Battlestar survives the scenario, I'm good.
I had one the other day where it was just the Battlestar survived. It was itself, just the Battlestar by itself, sailing through wreckage after wreckage after wreckage, just by itself. Everyone else is dead. Just the Battlestar when it's going along. It's all quite sad, really.
So the last question I have is, we all know that Battlestar Galactica Deadlock is going to be successful. It's going to just turn people's heads upside down. It's just going to be incredible. So based upon the success of this game, can we see future games from this intellectual property, possibly not only the first Cylon War, but the second Cylon War?
The future is a many changing beast, Sean. I could not tell you. We'll have to see how this one goes. Let's see how this one goes. Get out the door first, and then we'll see how the future goes from there. Because the thing is, the guys have still got loads of ideas for this game as well. This is a 1.0, but it's not the end of the line. There's still loads of ideas in the tank for how to work on this game as well.
Expansion packs kind of thing.
No, expansion packs, free updates, everything. We've got the beta test community has been really good. There's loads of ideas coming out there, but that's the way with development. There's a time you've got to ship the game at some point.
Yeah.
And so I get to play the role of the cruel producer, saying, "No, you can't have that." And just tell them, ship the game, ship the game, ship the game, ship the game, and you can have more in the future. Let's ship the game first.
Yeah, I feel like the guy from Futurama is like, handing over his money. Please take my money.
You can't take the money.
The one thing that I'm gonna I plan to do as soon as the game comes out is I want to buy the box version and just like hang it up.
Yeah. No, it's a very, very nice bit of art. It's good.
Yeah, I hope you guys put out like some like posters and stuff like that, or some other content I can hang up and be like,
no,
yes, it's finally made.
Yeah, there's some lovely bit of key arts that the artists have done. It's like they're not in the build right now, but some of the loading screens are being redone and they're very pretty.
Oh,
so
wow,
you see the build job playing, you see Galactica there with its Viper escort. There's more of that ilk going in the game as well. So it's really nice, pretty, the desktop background type stuff.
Nice. I'll be sure to put that as my desktop wallpaper.
Yeah.
All right, that's all the questions I have. Do you have anything you want to add or anything like that?
No, good. Thank you very much, Sean.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, David. I really appreciate you coming on the show and answering these questions. And again, I want to put out a special thank you to you guys, Slytherin and Blacklight Games and Universal for doing this, because I can tell you right now, every fan out there, every gamer out there is going to love it. And we're very appreciative of what you're doing, because we've been screaming for a game like this for decades, and it's here, and it's because of you guys.
Yeah, we love it too.
Awesome. Thanks so much, David.
Cheers, John. Thank you.
Have a good one.